Altenberg in Saxony, the final race of 2021 as we reach the Christmas, well, not Christmas, New Year break, the Christmas break in the Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup. Hello everybody, welcome back to our coverage as we round out the season of the first part of the season here in Altenberg. Sixth race for four-man bobsleigh. John Morgan, they raced on this track just 2 weeks ago, but the weather was different and that makes the track different. The challenges remain just as tough though.
Yeah, they'll be going a little bit slower on this East German sports training center track that they built in the mid-'80s. Friedrich, no surprise, that's the start record. Mattia Variola, they name him named after this corner because he crashed there. Former track manager, member of the German national team. And track might be slower, but they're still gremlins, even a second slower. All over the place, right here, exit, you can hit here, erase all sorts of time. Three-corner combination, you know, these four-mans won't get as much trouble as the two-mans, or especially the Monobobs, but four-mans just have a mind of their own, especially when they get into this big Kreisel curve. You'll see some up and down, and you see that red flag? Well, you want to get out of there when you see that red flag. And now this little combination, this 13, 14, don't want to be airborne going into 14, uphill section 15. You can still lose time down here. You saw teams hitting the lip here in the finish in the two-man event, where they threw one down, and Martin, it might be slower, but it's still just as stressful on the athletes. It's a challenge.
Yeah. I don't think the speed has much to do with it, does it? It doesn't lose its reputation just because you might be 1 kilometer slower at the bottom of the track. It is a tough track to drive, and that's why the drivers respond so well to it. Well, whatever else has happened this season, Francesco Friedrich has been the dominant force in two-man and four-man. He is unbeaten this season so far. In fact, he has not lost a race since December 2020, when he was beaten once by Johannes Lochner. So last season, that man there won every four-man race and 11 of the 12 two-man races. This season, he is 5 for 5 in two-man and 5 for 5 in four-man. Hang on a minute, it's only the fifth race weekend. How can he already have won 5 four-man races? Well, because in Winterberg we had double four-man, and we will then go and have double two-man to catch up with the two-man competition in Sigulda after Christmas. So, what else can we expect? Well, apart from Friedrich taking all the golds rather greedily, we have had no fewer than 6 other drivers claiming medals. So Johannes Lochner, Benny Maier, Justin Kripps, Rostislav Gaitiukevich, Brad Hall and Oscar's Kibermanis have all been in the medals. But Kibermanis, who goes off 4th here, what sort of day did he have yesterday? 18th place in the two-man? I mean, he really needs to turn that around, and in a hurry. Francesco Friedrich is our benchmark in what will be his 70th four-man start alone in his World Cup career. And Ryo Shinohara, after yesterday's crash, has been forced to withdraw. Olympic silver medalist Jong-won and his crew are the first off the top. Four-man bobsleigh racing again in Altenberg, Germany, one of the toughest tracks on the planet. Finished 18th here 2 weeks ago. John Morgan and Martin Haven watching the action. John, not a bad start, but I think we'll see better.
Well, he was 18th 2 weeks ago with a 30th start. And yesterday, Martin, he did not qualify for the second run in two-man. This is a guy who won the overall world season title in two-man in 2015-16, and shocking, you know, that the Olympic silver medalist is fallen to this level. You know, he doesn't have a start time like he did when he won the Olympic silver medal, and his ability as a driver, well, these lines for these big sport utility vehicles coming down the track, they're coming down a lot straighter than the women's bobsleds we saw this morning. He's down at a 55.07, Martin, and if you look at the time 2 weeks ago, 54.96. So he's 300s better at the start, 700s better or worse at the bottom. We have a slower track than we had 2 weeks ago. And 2 weeks ago, he went 20th in the first heat, so we definitely have a slower track.
Well, he missed the cut yesterday. He also missed the cut in the second race in Innsbruck in two-man, so he's not having a great two-man season. This is a little tidier. And again, with all that extra weight and a slightly longer wheelbase, these sleds are a lot more balanced than the Monobobs. So Jong-won, twilight of his career. If he makes it to the games, I think that will probably be the last race we see him in. But what about Cody Bascue, this young man for the USA, 19th place last time out. Carlo Valdez, Dr. Nicholas Taylor, if you don't mind, newly qualified this week and at 3, ahead of Chris Horn in the centre there on the brakes. I beg your pardon, no, they've moved around. Nicky's on the brakes, so Chris Horn at 3, Carlo at 2.
No mistakes allowed here. This Cody didn't hit the lip in Chrysler yesterday, didn't even qualify for the second run. You know, I said it yesterday, I don't know if I've ever seen a U.S. team not qualify a sled for the second run in the modern day. So it's time for the U.S. start putting some results on. Cody especially, he's been out here, wasn't on this track last season at the World Championships. And, you know, it's time. Time to do something.
Well, slipping behind Jong-won early on off a slightly quicker start. 900's in it. Wow. Coming back at him.
Picking up some speed. Still 9, doesn't have the speed in the bottom.
Final corner can decide everything. Does he get close? No, goes out a long way back. Yeah, wow. Plenty to think about. There's only a week off, John, between Christmas and the first race of the new year, which will be in Sigulda, Latvia. Now, whether everybody goes or not remains to be seen, but it doesn't leave you much time to be thinking, does it?
Boy, to be 600s better at the start and then 2700s below. Curve 4 wasn't a good result. You know, he was 19th here a couple weeks ago. Boy, I'm just perplexed. 55-25 a couple weeks ago. This time he's got 55-28. Well, he's a young Italian.
Yeah, Mattia Variola didn't race here 2 weeks ago. Roberto Messia, Alex Pagnani and Jose Delmas Obu are the crew. Mattia, former brakeman, and really starting to put some good runs together. What he's short of is experience and the consistency that comes with that. And only time can give you that.
22 start. Well, he finished 20th a couple weeks ago. So there's 2 teams that are not going to make it into the field.
Big waves in Omega, and really, he's skidding around a lot. He's carrying speed. We saw this in the women's race earlier, John. Some of the wildest rides were the fastest. Less contact patch gives you less control, but less friction. 200's in it still, but it is the slowest sled, and whips onto 15. Onto 13. Behind, but by how much? Will he be ahead of Cody Bascue? No, he's behind Bascue by 600ths of a second. Oh, and rolls off the final corner, just as if to illustrate that there is no part of this track that doesn't demand your attention. We saw this during the World
Championships. Now they're going to come back. That's a steep grade. They better not try and they're going to come back.
He's going to try and hang on. Oh, good grip with the sled. Now the brakemen have got to get in and try and... Yeah.
This is where people get hurt. When those 600-pound sleds have a mind of their own. And when you're dealing with where that sled is now, how steep it is, these lines here, all 4 runners on the ice, he steered out of there too early. That caused that. Skidding into 15. But here,
final corner. Yeah.
First time we've seen anybody do it from 2 weeks ago to now. And I don't know if anybody did it in training, but he's finished. He's through and down.
Yeah, and he was still on his runners at the line, so he got a decent speed out of it. The crash only
he's saying
on the
okay.
Final corner. Yeah, they are all out and about. That's good.
The brakeman might have had the brakes on in the curve, so there's no steering allowed by the driver. That could have caused that.
That's possible. Or just not quite getting the line right. However, sends another little tremor through everybody waiting in the changing room. There's all the coaches undercover watching the screens. Now just a sec over there in the green top. She's on iPad duty, filming the screen for the other Russian athletes.
Back in the day, there was no roof up there, the original build. 91 the 91 World Championships, and you know there was no need. It was only like 20 below zero then.
Well, when there's any kind of breeze blowing, John, it doesn't feel like there's any coverage at all there either. Well, they all look okay, which is good news. Slight track hold then for Oskars Kibermanis, and it looks like this is not a 2-minute but a 5-minute job there.
If they show us that finish curve, they can show us the finish curve. If there's a track crew when they're working, it means that the brakeman put the brakes on, put some grooves in that curve. Yeah. I can't believe it. So there's no their track hold. I don't understand it. There's no. I mean that the finish line is, you know, 200 yards, 100 yards away from where they crashed.
Yeah. It looks like everybody else is good to go. Sleds lined up. There is the Canadian sled adjusting. Kripps behind him, the blue. That's Brad Hall from Great Britain. He'll be our 7th sled away. And so athletes now just trying to stay warm. Benny Maier and his guys will be next up after Oskars Kibermanis. And all of these guys bouncing up and down. Kibermanis, last week, John, remember we talked about Intars Dambis having done, you know, 950 starts or something since 2001 or whenever it was that he started, and how he kept fit. He's out today, being replaced at short notice by Eggers Nemeth, so not sure whether he's had a little tweak or something, but, you know, he
was on the back of the two-man yesterday.
Right, okay, so maybe he's just having a day off. I mean, it's all, if there's an entry list that has a Latvian sled and there's no Intars Dambis, there's no actual Latvian sled there. It almost never happens. So, okay, 2-man race yesterday.
Yesterday I said that when they popped up his picture, I said, Intars Dambis, 38 years old. I don't know how many starts he's had, but Haven would. And I said, I do know this, though. His favorite movie's The Terminator, and he looks like he belongs in it.
Well, he lasts longer. He comes back more often than The Terminator, that's for sure.
He's been around.
Yeah.
Come on. What's the holdup? Timing?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I guess that's a possibility, actually. I hadn't thought of that.
Must be.
Yeah. All right, so we're talking a 5-minute delay with each of the crashes. Actually, he wasn't on the 4-man last weekend either. It was Eggers Nemeth on the 4-man as well instead of Intars Dambis. So I was just trying to be clever and look back a little bit to see how many World Cup
starts. The guy in the back,
Mark,
see the guy in the gray slacks?
Yeah.
I know. Is that his replacement? Is that a Latvian athlete or not?
Yeah.
Is that the next sled coming up?
No. He's their brakeman. So that is Eggers Nemeth.
Yeah. So Eggers Nemeth, he's 25 years old. He's the replacement. Don't really know a lot about him, but professional athlete and his 10 years of playing volleyball. Tall. You know, all these guys are tall for Latvia.
Yeah. Lots of fast twitch fiber, lots of speed, lots of velocity. He'll be one of those guys who can box jump from a standstill almost his own height, won't he?
Yeah, here we go. 1 minute, so now they're getting the clearance to come. And these monsters that they are, size-wise, it's just, you know, I hate beating this guy up, but Oskars Kibermanis is one of the top pilots in the world, and he's just not doing it. I mean, he just doesn't have any results.
Well, John, I don't think you're beating up. You're not telling him anything that he's not really bitterly aware of, are you? 109 World Cup starts. World Cups alone, that doesn't include World Championships, that doesn't include Olympic Games, that doesn't include anything at the junior level. World Cup alone, 109 starts for Intars Dambis.
I remember we were talking about him being taken off the streets of Riga and put right into the front of a sled in 2012 or something. And, you know, he's got that many starts.
Here we go then, getting action back underway with Latvia's Oskars Kibermanis. 10th place here 2 weeks ago, 18th in the 2-man race yesterday. He needs a change in form in a hurry.
He did eke out a silver medal in Innsbruck in the second race, but you would have told me that he'd be finishing 18th in the two-man in Altenberg. I would say, oh, he must have had to sit in the sled. But his start times were, you know, weren't the best, but not worthy of the 18th spot.
Well, best speed into the Kreisel. Yeah.
As it should be.
This is looking a little better. Well, don't forget, you know, he's battling another driver who a couple of seasons ago would have been a dozen places and more higher than where he is. So these two guys, Kibermanis and Jong-won, are both really out of position. Across the line, 3600s up now. Where will that leave him? Will that even be a top 10? Who knows?
Well,
we're going to have to wait.
800s. Martin, he's within 800s of his time from 2 weeks ago. 54.71 2 weeks ago. He's faster.
All right.
He just got what I thought he got. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
54.71. He's 54.63. So that's maybe we've harassed him enough to come out of his slump. You know, I hope he's not listening to us. But you know, I like elite athletes to perform at an elite level, and this is an elite athlete. And in my observation, he's not performing at an elite level, maybe today.
Well, he went from silver in Innsbruck to 10th here 2 weeks ago and has barely got any better since. What about Benny Maier? Slightly disappointing second heat yesterday, but he was the silver medalist in the four-man here just 2 weeks ago. Same man, same sled, same crew.
20 start as they had in the first heat 2 weeks ago. So they should get a 21, 20, same start. So there's precision, consistency. You know, and Benny had a pretty good two-man going yesterday in the first run. He slipped in the second run. His brother, Sammy, had a fifth place in the men's skeleton on Friday, which is his best finish ever.
Well, two members of the family sliding. Wife Elizabeth not sliding this season. But Benny 900s up. Best speed as well.
Well, silver medalist on this track last year in the World Championships. Coming back a little bit, 700s.
Yeah. Little
Speed
skid
to
there.
third. 10, he's online though. He'll finish probably in the teens, low teens. Good run for Benny Maier.
Yeah.
12, 54.59 and 54.35 though a couple weeks ago. I think Kibermanis was better than he was 2 weeks ago. I think Benny's a little off, and that's just using the numbers. It's about the numbers, Martin.
Looks like they might meet in the middle, sort of 6th, 7th, somewhere.
This wasn't perfect, but he had the best speed that was entering the Kreisel. Here, you always look at the back of the sled. You want to be on the right side of 13. He's got a little bit of a skid going, but not bad.
Yeah, puts him in on the right side. Normally you skid away and it puts you in on the left, which is really where you don't want to go. Benny Maier leads, 5 sleds down, first heat of the four-man bobsleigh in Altenberg. 6th sled out of the start blocks is Justin Kripps of Canada, bronze medalist in yesterday's two-man race. He was 5th in the four-man here 2 weeks ago, and as ever, Ryan Summer Camstone's Ben Coakwell the crew.
17 start. They had 16 in the first run 2 weeks ago, 17 in the second run, so they're chalk. But he got a little tap of that entrance to 5. Better start, 400s, but he should have been 700 to be better with the better start. See what he gets here. 8. He's pulling away, best speed. So his 5th place finish a couple weeks ago, he couldn't chase down Benny Maier. Looks like he will do it today.
Yeah.
This is much better.
119.9, decent speed. Maier was fastest at the bottom, fastest of all at 132.8. And across the line, yeah, Maier still has the best speed at the bottom, and that's why Kripps didn't close any further, or didn't pull out any more of an advantage, rather.
First guy to go faster than he did 2 weeks ago, 54.50. 2 weeks ago went 54.52.
All right.
He likes it.
There we go. Nice to get that repetition. 2 weeks on the same track. Just gives you more time in the sled, more time to polish it up.
Yesterday, he went from 7th to 3rd in the two-man. There was some action in that run.
It was another close pack, wasn't it? Hauled it off the end there out of 14. And again out of 15. Well, that's where the speed went away. That big steer in 15.
You lost 3 or 4 hundredths there, you're correct.
Smile from Justin Kripps. Well, 9th last time out in the 4-man for Brad Hall. 9th yesterday in the 2-man with Big T, Lawrence Taylor, Nick Gleason and Greg Cackett behind him. And these guys are already qualified for the Beijing Games.
5:12 2 weeks ago.
5:14.
Yeah, he hasn't got this track figured out. You know, he started the season pretty good. His silver medal in Innsbruck that really lifted the program, and a silver medal again last week in the Winterberg race.
Yep.
So between him and Gaitiukevich of Russia, these two are the guys that made it the biggest stride. You know, Benny Maier, you know, and Brad Hall, or Benny Maier, you know, he's there. He's a silver medalist, but this guy made some big strides this year.
Yeah, another medal would definitely help. Only 200ths in front of Justin Kripps. The gap is creeping
pretty rough,
back
pretty
down.
rough here, pretty rough. Real gonna lose 3 tenths. He's gonna be 2 tenths back here because of that mistake.
Really having to work hard in the bottom 3 corners. 2500ths back. It all went away, and he knows where that went.
He had it. You know, and his finish time, you know, he was there. You know, 54.75. Last week he was 54.65, so 10 hundredths worse. He would have been faster, except for that mistake. That was worth 2 tenths there, Martin.
Yep. 400ths behind Kibermanis, and it all goes wrong.
This is good. He gets in a little bit of a then too high here, and he really Robin Hoods it over. And then all of a sudden the back end comes away. He's up high.
Late here.
Look at now. Watch the rudder tips here. A little bit of a panic to try and stabilize the sled.
Late into 15 on the wrong side. Yeah, all goes wrong. Well, Altenberg is home for this man, Francesco Friedrich. 70th 4-man World Cup start. 20 wins in those 69 previous starts, plus 17 other medals. Torsten Margus, Martin Grotkopp back at 3 in place of Candy Bauer, and Alexander Schiller at 4.
He had 5:06s. Martin, your reference to him, this is his home track for sure, but I think any track's his home track, the way the guys
well, yeah.
14 up. But again, he had a 600 slower start time. It is the best start. 1700s up.
Something ticking away in the sled. You can hear it clack, 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 clack all the way down. That's a very unusual noise. 1700s up.
Benny Maier still has the best speed down here. 1600s coming back a little bit. Boy, he really hauled it off 15.
Wild there. Wow, he's got this thing.
13, yeah. He lost some time back.
Got that thing on some fat runners. That is a handful. If Friedrich is having trouble on this track, that sled is a handful.
2 weeks ago, he was 36 hundredths up in the first run. Now, at 1300ths, Kripps is that close. Yep. Maier is 22 hundredths back. Maier was 36 hundredths back on him 2 weeks ago, so he was way ahead of the field 2 weeks ago. Here, he's actually human. There he checks the sled to avoid the big skid. Watch the climb here. Watch this. That's some big steering there at 15. And that's where he went from 22 hundredths up to 13 at the bottom.
Yeah, hauled it off 15, didn't he? So Francesco Friedrich is the leader as we get to the first of our 2 Swiss sleds, second of our 2 Swiss sleds. First of our 2 Swiss sleds. This is Michael Vogt, 6th in the race 2 weeks ago. Finished tied for 10th yesterday in the 2-man. Alan Knusa, new boy Luca Roli, and Sandro Michel.
They get beat up at the start, but he finished 6th. Tells you about how good of a driver he is. 26th they had 2 weeks ago. 20. So they improved their start. That's a big deal. So he was 2 tenths down to Friedrich. Now he's only 8 hundredths down to Friedrich. If he puts in the good drive like he did 2 weeks ago, he could challenge for top 4.
This is only the second, maybe the third race for his brakeman Luca Roli, so that cohesion is coming.
Way back, way back. Second best speed though, 2400.
Yeah. All
right
big waves in the Kreisel. Doesn't get it off clean. And that's where the speed went.
Perfect here, he's got a chance. That's not bad. Better than most.
Behind Kibermanis, ahead of Brad Hall. 5th or 6th at the line, it's going to be tight.
6th.
How far behind Brad Hall? 3/100ths of a second. Yeah. Well, you saw Peter Ramseidel there working. He's a Swiss who's now working with the Swiss, but part of the British programme for, well, donkey's years, so he knows both teams intimately. Mikael Vogt just behind Brad Hall. Kibermanis is 700ths ahead of him, so that's a tight battle.
He was 5900ths off the pace 2 weeks ago when he was in 6th, and here he's only 4100ths. That's related to that closer at the start than he was on Friedrich.
Dived off there the same way that Friedrich did. Out of 15, everybody's having sketchy exits there. So what about Johannes Lochner? 10th equal with Mikael Vogt in yesterday's 2-man race. He was 4th place in the 4-man race here. And Hansi, well, he's had a good 2-man season with 3 straight silver medals until yesterday. 2 silvers in the 4-man as well in Innsbruck and Winterberg last week.
Weber's on the sled. He wasn't on there 2 weeks ago. 5:19, push bars are out. Trouble for Hansi. I don't think that they know these push bars are out. And these things will hit.
Heads buried. Whoa! Big wave in Omega.
This is a dangerous situation. You're probably going to hear the PA system announcers yelling, "Get back, get back."
Yeah, we are behind closed doors, so there are no fans leaning on the wall, as there might often be. So far, they haven't hit anything.
And he's way back. Look at the time. I mean, Hansi had a disastrous 12th place, or 10th place yesterday in the 2-man. This is a weekend to forget for Hansi Lochner. Oh, late there, almost went over.
How did that not crash? That's why I know. How did that not crash? That's why everybody is hauling it off 15. Everybody is ripping it off 15 because they're getting in.
Listen, Mark. Let's listen.
So you see the cables they pull that are supposed to spring the arms back in, and they pulled the cables.
Boy, the push bars really didn't hit any place. Hansi didn't know the push bars were out. But that shows you about aerodynamics. I mean, it wasn't that bad of a run. I mean, the start time, 4th best start time. Ooh, he almost tipped over there.
Yeah, but it was all gone by the first clock. They were 3400ths back.
That tells you what hundredths of seconds do in aerodynamics right there.
Yeah, you don't lose 3/10 with the push bars. That was a driving error early on. Rostislav Gaitiukevich, bronze medalist here in the 4-man. His first World Cup 4-man medal came here 2 weeks ago. Can he do it again?
I don't think he's got the same 4-man team. 5:17 is a little slower too. 15 a couple weeks ago, but that's doable. Didn't have a very good 2-man yesterday. But he's had a pretty good season. You know, he's sitting at 5th in points.
Yep.
1 podium. 5th last week in Winterberg.
5th in 4-man points, 4th in 2-man points. He's having a good year, isn't he?
Yep. He's speed here for that start. Ooh. Back. It looks like a 4th or 5th if he's clean here. And I call that clean. Yeah, he's got 5th. 5th. Trying to get the 5th.
Gets it.
5th.
100th ahead of Brad Hall. Okay, we've got a battle. Kibermanis is in 4th, 3400ths back. Then Gaitiukevich 3700ths back. Brad Hall 3800ths back. and Michael Vogt 41 hundredths back. So 34 to 41, that's 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. That's a nice battle shaping up.
I don't see anybody else going to challenge here. Hafer maybe, but Hafer gives up too much time at the start. He did that yesterday when he won a silver medal. Yeah. Gave up a lot of time at the start, but drove spectacularly down the track. And here, he's probably thinking one more run in Altenberg.
Yeah. Francesco Friedrich leads Justin Kripps and Benny Maier. 10 down and 12 to go. So, next up is our 12th starter, Maxim Andrianov, with Alexei Pushkarev, Vasily Kondratenko and Vladislav Gaitukevich.
Yeah, they switched up these teams. Yeah. Because one of the guys in Gaitukevich's sled was on Andrianov's.
Yeah, I think it's the brakeman, Jarovtsev. I think he was the guy that swapped over since the last Altenberg race.
Travkin, I think Travkin is the new guy in the mix. But I got to stop looking at the sheet and watch the run here.
3/10 down already. You lose so much if you get those first few corners wrong. It's impossible to bring it back.
He's a better four-man guy. 7th here a couple weeks ago, 9th in Winterberg last week. He's got better control. Oh, watch out here. He got away with it.
Yeah,
800
except for the time.
Top 10, 8th or 9th. You know, he's 7th here a couple weeks ago. He's in the mix. 8th, he's 66 hundredths.
No man's 55. Land. He's a quarter of a second behind 7th, and 4 hundredths ahead of 9th.
2 weeks ago, Martin, he was 54.45, so he's over 5,800 slower. But he went early 2 weeks ago. He went 5th. Had the good ice to work with. This probably is his only real big mistake. That just causes a lot of steering, and he steered pretty well because you couldn't tell he had a big mistake in the 100 yards previous to that. Here in 15, not bad. He's 7th 2 weeks ago. He's on the line to have 7th again.
Hunter Church of the USA ready to take to the Altenberg ice. Josh Williamson, Hakeem Abdul-Sabor and Charles Volker, the crew. 21st, missed the cut here 2 weeks ago. Let's see if he can turn that around. Lies 10th in World Cup standings, 8th, 5th, 21st, 10th and 11th this year.
Boy, start time, 10th best start. Well, yesterday he had the 23rd best start and finished at 23rd. Yeah, he did start late, but boy, the start time gives him no chance. Here, he's got a little bit better start. 3/10 back.
Off a top 10 start into 8th place on the splits at the moment. Tracking down to the Kreisel, still in the top 10 with the 10th best speed.
This is encouraging. USA needs something to cheer about. They didn't qualify a sled for the second run yesterday.
8th best speed. Oh, not too bad. Doesn't haul it off 15, should keep speed to the line. 9th, maybe 8th at the line. 9th ahead of 1. 300s behind Andrianov.
Well,
all right, so
you've got
8, 9, 10 covered by 400s, John.
Something a little bit better.
Yeah.
Of course, he didn't qualify for the second run 2 weeks ago. This time he will be in the second run.
Yep.
You know, the flat, see the USA sleds, the four-mans are so flat in the front. They're the only sleds that have that flat contour in the front like that. And, you know, there's a little steering there. Not bad. Good run for Hunter.
Yes, sir.
Better than yesterday.
He's happy with that. Something to work on. Upward trajectory is what we want. Next up, you hear the AC/DC playing for Christoph Hafer with Lucas Koller, Issam Moore and Philip Verbeto. Yesterday, his best ever race in a two-man World Cup. He took the silver medal. Here 2 weeks ago, 8th in the four-man. Let's see if he can get in amongst the silverware again this time.
Total different team from 2 weeks ago. 23rd start. This time he's got a 26 start, so 5:23 to 5:26. No, you know, that start, 13th best start. You know, he's going to drive himself into a top 10 position, but it's going to be tough for him to get into that top 5 with that deficiency, and he's so far back now, Martin. But he did it yesterday. He did what you can't do. 13th best start over to a silver medal. So I hope he proves me wrong again. It's great to see somebody posting their best ever finish. But he's into the 10th now. He might get to 8.
Speed, yeah.
Well, he's
could be in there with Kibermanis, Gaitiukevich, Hall, and Vogt. Is he going to jump them all? Where does he finish at the line? 8th place. So he is 400s ahead of Andrianov, 500s ahead of Hunter Church, and 800s ahead of Jong-won. 8, 9, 10, 11. Now covered by 800s.
Give him that 300s better at the start that he would have had. 900s better. Yeah, no, he still would have been an 8th. Good lines. I mean, you know, there's a reason Hafer started off very slow with his first event of the year. He was like 17th. Then he was disqualified the second race in Innsbruck. Then 8th, 4th, and 8th the last 3 races. He can drive. No doubt.
Definitely starting to get better. Dominik Dvorak next up for the Czech Republic. We are not far from the border with the Czech Republic, something around 10 kilometers away. Jan Sindelar, Dominik Zaleski, and the veteran Jakub Nošek in the center at the rear. 12th place here 2 weeks ago. Should be a top 10 finisher.
Same team as 2 weeks ago, 5:25, so they should be equal or better. 5:23, so there's the better. And, you know, we're 5 kilometers or less from the Czech border. You know, so that he's always done well on this track, Martin, but he's had a slow start to the season also.
Yeah, he sure has. Not one result in the top 10.
Even in 2-man, he's not doing that well, and he's not getting start times, which, you know, he's top 10 at the moment. Good lines here. He could stay in that top 10, but 12th best velocity. Needs to be perfect here. Rudder tips coming at us very nicely. 11th. He was finishing 12th there 2 weeks ago. Looks like he's probably going to be 11th or 12th here. He's 12th, but remember, Lochner, Johannes Lochner. Lochner is on the bubble and might not make the cut.
Absolutely. Need to see if Hansi is going to make the second heat. I mean, a second back. He's behind Mattia Variola.
A little late there. He steered to come off. Did he get himself into an unnecessary skid? Yes. Hard to get these big sport utilities in a skid, but when they do, it's tough bringing him out.
15 down, 8 to go. Francesco Friedrich, as ever, setting the pace from Kripps and Maier. 16th sled, Seaman Friedli, 13th place here 2 weeks ago. 5th in yesterday's 2-man race, another big result for him. Asian Fassler, Greg Jones, healthy again with Andreas Haas on the back.
Yeah, great result yesterday. Great start time right there. He had a 5:21 start, 5:20 this time. He's made great progress in the front seat. You know, one of the brakemen for Rico Peter 4 years ago. He was part of that big crash that Rico had here in January of 18. And, you know, right to the front seat. You know, started driving. Ooh, that's pretty rough right there. That's the worst lines we've seen yet. But made great progress. 5th place finish yesterday was awesome.
Still in the top 10 on the splits, John, but the time is going to bleed away with all that skidding down to the Kreisel. So from 7th on the splits to 13th at the bottom. And 100th ahead of Cody Bascue, 700ths ahead of Mattia Variola, 900s ahead of Johannes Lochner. That is not a sentence you will hear repeated in many seasons.
No, that is perplexing.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to be hanging out with Hansi Lochner, especially with what happened to him yesterday in the two-man. And this just gets away from Seaman down the straightaway here. Just the worst lines we've seen yet in the straightaway out of the Shodai number 9 curve. Well, Altenberg.
Yep. Well, what about Altenberg and Chris Spring? Chris Spring was 200s away from his first World Cup medal since 2017 in yesterday's two-man race. He finished in 4th spot. He was 11th here 2 weeks ago, and he's got unfinished business with this track.
Yeah, got some issues, and he's been extracting revenge out of the track. 5:27, he had a 5:21 there 2 weeks ago. And is it the same guy?
Yeah. Maybe Cyrus Gray wasn't on the back of the sled here 2 weeks ago, but Cody was. Mike Evelyn has been ever since Chris returned from retirement.
Sam Gigueras.
Sam Gigueras, yeah. 16th their speed. It's not a top draw run from Chris Spring, I'm afraid.
No.
He was 11th here 2 weeks ago. He will need an epic second run to get an 11th today.
Just the fact that he's here competing on this track that really took
it. Nearly killed him. Tied with Cody Bascue.
So that means they'll both make it in. They'll probably both be 19th or 18th.
Yeah, there's a couple of sleds behind them. And
I predict they'll be 18th or 17th. Those will be tied for 17th. This wasn't perfect up here. But, you know, when you talk about this guy, he crashed here in that November of, I think it was 2010. Came to the World Championships, had a cane, and told everybody he's coming back next year. Everybody was looking at him like, no way. Not only did he come back, he's back 10 years later and, finishes 4th 2 consecutive two-man races on the track. Beating himself up there, though. But, boy, he's mind over matter. That's a pretty strong athlete right there.
Change around here behind Ivo de Bruin. Steven Hausenfeld has been on the back of the sled. He's now up at 2 right behind the driver. Jelen Francic moved back to 3 as Dennis Venka is on the brakes for the first time this year.
Well, 5:24. That puts you in the back of the pack and means no mistakes allowed. And, Ivo's 22nd here, didn't get a second run, but 5:33, 5:35, so he's similar starts.
Well, this race 2 weeks ago is the only four-man race he has not made the cut so far this season.
Ooh, late.
11th in race 1 in Winterberg. That was one of his 3 qualifying results he needs, so he could do with another good run here, but this is going to be right at the tail of the field. Needs to be ahead of Lochner, is not ahead of Lochner. There's Tom Delahunty, the coach, and shaking his head. Not much to say about that one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think
Tom, by the way, John, reminds you that his brakeman in 1984 was Pete Lund, not Pete Gunn. Pete was still at school.
I know.
Everybody's human.
I said that. Yeah, everybody said. I got a couple of messages on that too. So
if Pete Gunn was still at school, he was the oldest schoolboy I think we've ever seen.
Yeah.
No disrespect, Pete. All right, so no second heat, surely, I think now for Ivo de Bruin. 18th place, 2 spots left in the race.
Hey, his wife won the gold medal yesterday in women's monobob, so there was a good weekend for the de Bruin family.
Possibly not helping him right now, though. She won't be waving that around. Markus Treichl, 16th place here 2 weeks ago, should make the race. What's the Austrian got?
5:26 2 weeks ago, 5:26 this time. Is it the same sled? Looks like the same guys.
Yep.
No, it's not the same guys. The brakeman, Eschlocker, is different.
Okay.
But
he was on the sled in Winter. He was on the sled in Winterberg, so yeah, it doesn't look like it's too much of a deficit. 3,900 back. This is top 10 from a 15th best start.
Yeah.
Now, if he can keep it clean from here on down, John, this will be a big run for Markus Treichl.
Sure. Get better every week. Started off slow
8th on the splits. Oh,
big
what a
skid there.
huge moment.
Going to cost him. Still, this is awesome. Top 11.
And how did he hold on to that?
Hey, Wolfie, how about that? Watch how excited they are here. Watch this. Watch how excited they are.
That was wild.
Hey, something to cheer about. Personal best. Look at the energy here.
Best result this season, 10th place last week in Winterberg. That is a top 8 run in the first heat. I don't see anyone else beating that in this run.
Yeah. Pretty good.
And could have been better, John. The exit of 14 cost him all sorts of time with that tap, tap, skid, skid.
I think that might be his best heat ever in four-man bobsleigh.
Yeah.
Next up,
Romania's Mihai Tentea was one spot better than Treichl 2 weeks ago. Raul Dobre, Ciprian Dorocci, and Christian Radu are the familiar crew this season. Let's see what Mihai can produce.
26 start, just like the Austrian did 2 weeks ago. They had similar starts, close. 29, so they're 300 slower. They beat Treichl by 1,700s 2 weeks ago. So this is the race within a race. He's not going to challenge up top of the podium, but we could say that he'd love to make sure that he beats Treichl. And if he beats Treichl, he's in the top 10. It's good to see that the track's still giving up some time here late in the heat. And this isn't very good, though. 15th best.
It's not what he wanted.
Nothing like Treichl. Treichl might have switched some runners around with somebody, because that's some run he just had. Yeah,
Stanford's put something super quick on Treichl's sled, and he managed to hang on to it. Tentea, though, was one spot ahead of Markus Treichl last time. He's nearly 10 behind him this time.
He beat Lochner by 200s, which, boy, there's still three sleds here that could beat.
Yeah.
Could knock Lochner out. Heinrich should. Baumgartner could. I don't know about Lamandine. Those two guys could knock him out. 200s. How many times has our Romanian friend Tentea beat Lochner? Never.
Yeah, there can't be many, that's for sure. So Francesco Friedrich leads from Justin Kripps with Benny Maier in third, 20 sleds down. And we have 3 to go, trying to fight their way into the race. First up, Romain Heinrich, Lionel Lefebvre, Thibaut Desmartins, and Jerome Laperal. 17th here 2 weeks ago. 8th place, John, starting to really find his form in the two-man. Good race for the French yesterday.
Yeah, confidence is coming. 28 in the first run 2 weeks ago. 22. That's what they had in the second run, 5:28 to 5:22. So they just started off 5:22. That's a big deal. You know, with all things, what we know, there's no reason he shouldn't come down here like 14th or 15th at least and put Lochner on the bubble. Looking good. Looking about top 10. I think Romain Heinrich, the light bulb, the switch went on for him here in Altenberg, where the track is tough, and he shows he's got the eyes and hands to do it.
And he's getting the timing back, and that's what it's all about, isn't it?
He's an 8. This is unbelievable.
They can all drive, It's when they get it absolutely nailed on. 54.85. He is in.
Now watch this celebration.
And Ivo de Bruin is out.
Watch this celebration. Come on, you guys. Look what you just did. 8.
You can't hear them because they're muffled by all the beards. But, yes, Romain Heinrich there on the back is loving that.
That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
That's best heat of the year right there. Of course, yesterday he did it the 2-man also.
Yeah, 8th in the 2-man, 8th here in the 4-man after the first of 2 heats. And that confidence for the driver, what a difference it makes. So, in is Heinrich, out is de Bruin. What about Patrick Baumgartner? 2 weeks ago, John, 14th place finish. And that's a big result for him.
If I'm Johannes Lochner, I don't want to watch this because the way this guy's been driving, he's a little bit like Romain Heinrich. He's had a good season. You know, he's not in the medals, but he's definitely improved.
Well, he made the cut in the second race in Innsbruck, then here, then failed to miss the cut in either of the Winterberg races, failed to make the cut. Big wave in the Omega curve.
Pretty similar start time to what he had 2 weeks ago.
Touch and go, 16th best at the start, but driving himself into a better position. 15th on the splits, 14th on the splits down to the Kreisel. Speed's not great, skidded away a lot.
This is shocking. Johannes Lochner
still 14th.
Is not going to make it. He's not going to make it.
Hansi Lochner has never missed a World Cup race cut.
Oh, I wish I had a camera on the... I don't want a camera on him. Not deserving.
No.
Oh,
he's in.
This is a good run.
14th. 14th here 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Hansi Lochner's worst ever 4-man result was on his debut in Sochi. It was 10th place. His worst ever 2-man result, a 20th place in Whistler in 2017. He has never missed the cut in a World Cup start in 2-man and 4. Baumgartner just bounced him out of the race.
Well, those push bars bounced him out of the race. That tells you how important aerodynamics are. You know, with the good, he had the 4th best start.
And then blew it in the first couple of corners. He was 3400s back by turn 3. There was no coming back. So Lamindine, final sled. Sam Blanchett, Ben Simons, Joel Fearon. 20th place here 2 weeks ago, made the cut. He needs a top 2/3 of the field finish to get the first of 3 qualifying race results. That means 16th.
He's running out of time.
Or better. He's 3 races remain after.
Here.
Yeah,
he's got to do it here. This is Olympic qualifying right here.
And, you know, after 4 years, it comes down to this one heat.
Boy, Lemon, 5:27. At least it was a better start, 5:30 a couple weeks ago. But, you know, the 19th best start. Now he's up to 20. He's got to finish like tied for 19th or better. There's a tie for 17. There's a tie for 19. So he can't have the 20th best. There's no 20th best time.
No, he's got to be in there. He's 20th at the moment, which will not anymore. Keep him in. Yeah, no, he's dropped behind the tie for 19th. He is out of the race right now. That means his attempt to qualify to go to the games is coming to an end.
According to British standard, they could rescind
across the line.
They could rescind that. You never know, but they should, you know.
Yeah.
But they're getting a lot stricter, you know, with the even the
23rd
IBSF.
place at the line.
He might not qualify.
Well,
the British might not qualify 2 sleds. You know,
in terms of who goes? No, I think they're going to be a single sled nation.
Yeah.
Don't think there's any doubt about that. And Lamin, I'm afraid that was probably last chance saloon.
Yeah. They're going to put it away very disappointingly. You know, and it's strange too, because he was like 12th in the World Championships here last year.
Yeah. Just a season that's not gelling the way it needed to. And Olympic long jump champion from 2012, Greg Rutherford, part of the crew, but injured with a shoulder injury at the moment, is not going to go to a Winter Games, it would seem. So, Francesco Friedrich, it will come as little surprise to anybody who's watched any bobsleigh races throughout history, is our first heat leader. And on his home ice job,
25 trips so far, including the Yangcheng race. He's won 21 of the 25. He's got 1 second and 3/3.
Well,
so
he has not been beaten in 12 calendar months. He has not lost a race in 2021, and he's 1300s ahead of Justin Kripps, 22 out from Benny Maier, 34, 37, 38, 41, 48 back. Kibermanis to Heinrich. That's going to be a fun battle, and Treichl's not out of that one. And then the next group, 10th on down to 13th. That's going to be tough, and maybe count in the next couple of sleds as well. Those who don't make the second heat, Hansi Lochner, Ivo de Bruin, and Lamindine. Rino Shinohara not fit to race after yesterday's two-man crash. We wish him our very best. And you can join us for the final heat of 2021. Not of the season, we continue in the new year, but this will be the last trip for a four-man in this calendar year before they have a whole week off. From John Morgan, from me, Martin Haven, and the crew, thanks for being with us. We will be back at 1600 local, 1500 GMT. That is 1000 Eastern for the final run of the four-man.
Now Sunovich does not work now.